Rock concert movement number 1. The basic head bob. Ready, go.
This is the Friday Bradshaw show here on Webcast One Live. Thanks for stopping in to say hello. Oops, let me pick that up. Phone number is 244-0077. Email me at radiobradshaw@gmail.com. And follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/radiobradshaw. Just go to thebradshawshow.com. It's got links to archives, the audio feed. Everything you need is there with thebradshawshow.com. 24/7, 365, barring more internet outages in New York, but big progress being made. Already, gas lines are coming down as FEMA is getting involved in getting more fuel to the ports, which can then be distributed to retail locations. More food drops. The Pentagon has actually gotten involved. Airlifting equipment from like Southern California. Because, last week, early last week, we already heard reports of, trucks being sent and crews being sent, even from here in Iowa, to the eastern seaboard to prepare for the storm. But unprecedented devastation in that area, record high water levels and the like. They're loading up C-130s with everything from, bucket trucks, generating equipment, flying it from California into New York area. So now reports are that by midnight tonight, all of Manhattan at least will have power. The fuel lines are coming down. Some limited public transportation is back up and running. And in New York, the schools reopen tomorrow. So, again, this is going to be a long and involved process. But progress is being made. Apparently, they're even thinking about bringing out like military trucks to serve as polling places in New Jersey for locations that aren't up to snuff yet. So, again, progress being made. Again, it's nice when you have someone more concerned with disaster relief than Arabian horses running FEMA. It's amazing what you can do. All right, 244-0077, email radiobradshaw@gmail.com. Coming up here in about 20 minutes, we'll talk to Frank Mink, little Frankie. Produced a PSA and spent some quality time with Bob Vanderplatz yesterday. So we'll talk to him about how that's going to go in the second segment. First, some of the news of the day, and this might be the scariest. Due to, just plain incompetence in Ohio. As Secretary of State, again, the people who are in charge of elections, more and more, that seat is being seen, one, as a leverage of political advantage, whether it's, voter purging, controlling, in the case of Ohio, trying to limit early voting. It's also seen as a springboard to higher office, most notably governorships. We saw it with Chet Culver. I think we're seeing the same thing here in Iowa, where our own doofus, Matt Schultz, when he's not threatening, UN observers with arrest and lobbying for, we need voter ID, we need our voter ID. Why? Because we need it. What will it solve? Problems that may arise at some point in the future? Skippy ain't so much interested in actually running the Secretary of State's office. He wants Branstad's office. But neither here nor there. But thanks to a data sharing glitch and various mistakes by election officials, thousands of absentee ballot requests were rejected in Ohio. Now, their Secretary of State, John Husted, remember that name, you'll probably be hearing a lot of it on Election Day, says it was a computer error. The Northeast Ohio Voter Advocates, this is a group that wants open, free elections, that sort of thing, looked and found a high rate of rejected ballot requests in Cuyahoga County. That'd be Cleveland. The Cuyahoga Board of Elections determined that 865 ballot requests had been erroneously thrown out, which means if those people then show up at the polls on Election Day, they have to cast a provisional ballot. At least 4,500 registered voters across the state are waiting for absentee ballots. As many as 6,000 provisional ballots could be tossed out. And the ones that don't get tossed out won't be counted until November 17th. Now, again, Ohio's a bit of a mess. This is what happens when the politically minded end up in functionary offices that actually have to get things done. Being partisan and getting things done tends to not work well together. So depending on the margin in Ohio, this may carry on for another 10 days, at which point I will drink myself silly. I don't even remember the last time I had a drink. But if it gets to be, we've called every state but Ohio, and we'll wait for the results. I don't know what... at that point, maybe just pure grain alcohol. Maybe in the honor of the memory of Ron Paul, we'll break out the Goldschlager. Who knows? And again, this isn't probably the likely scenario, but it is a possible.
What's the deal with Goldschlager?
Gold. Everything Ron Paul does. Gold.
Oh, okay. You're talking about the alcohol that's got the gold at
the little gold flakes, yeah.
That stuff's horrible.
I know, but I wouldn't drink it normally.
I wouldn't drink it ever. That stuff's awful.
No, maybe in honor of us becoming like Greece, according to Republicans who break out the ouzo. I mean, we have options.
Yeah, when I was in high school, my parents were given a bottle of that, and I stole it and drank it, and it was horrible.
I can tell you, though, in college, a bottle of Rumplemints made paper writing much easier. Like, I don't know if it works in corporate report land. I always got great grades on my papers because I would spice them up with, like, jokes and innuendo and puns and the like. Not that they were, like, great by any means, but I think after reading, like, 50 horrible, we didn't have Wikipedia back then, but, like, copy-pasted from someone's horrible GeoCities website, papers written at a third grade level. I think just the change in tone was so refreshing. I got better grades than I probably deserved on papers like that. I don't know if that works in corporate land. I've never done a corporate report, but
I don't do corporate work.
A bottle of Rumplemints seemed to make that whole process go much easier. Kids, don't drink. It's bad for you. But, yeah, if this election has to drag on for another 10 days, just at that point, an IV or something. So hopefully the margin in Ohio, and certainly the polls look this way, will render that irrelevant. What would be even better is if we see one or two swing state surprises, Florida tracking Obama and the like, that puts Ohio's electoral votes outside the margin of victory, and we can just call the race and all sleep the sleep of kings on Tuesday night. Then on Wednesday, and go with my original plans. I had a bit of a conundrum. So, Dan, if you have a recommendation here, I don't know whether to go with, again, my personal favorite beverage, which would be Grain Belt Premium, or in honor of Chicago-style politics, go with like a nice 3-1-2 from Goose Island.
Yeah, I was say Goose Island's always a good call. I do like Goose Island.
Maybe we'll go with the 3-1-2 and do it Chicago-style.
Yeah, we could do that.
Get some hot dogs, celery, salt, pickles, relish, do it all.
I mean, because 312 does have a little bit of that dirty tint to it. That's really nice.
So I don't know. I'm torn.
I tried
when
to
it
sneak
comes
that
to
in.
that.
No, I like Goose Island. Goose Island would be a good call. They make some good sodas. We could get Mac a soda.
They have the best root beer on earth.
I am actually not a fan of the root beer. If you were going to ask me the best root beer, I would actually defer to Sarsaparilla and say Sioux City Sarsaparilla is the best.
Nah, I like the Goose Island
And
stuff. I brought
A&W is
case
a close
home.
section, or a close second to me.
A&W's all right. It's still too syrupy sweet for my tastes.
See, I love that part about it. In fact, now I'm going to go get one.
All right. So that's my election day plans. But yeah, it's a little scary to think that due to just blatant incompetence. Again, this is the Secretary of State that had to go to the Supreme Court and try to argue that we need less early voting. We need fewer hours of voting in these areas. I guess he wants to be the next Catherine Harris. Again, whose magical combination of partisanship and just plain incompetence has yet to be equaled. She was, remember the Florida superstar in 2000? I think it was HBO did a nice movie, Recount. If you want to, I don't know if it's on HBO Go or on demand or anything like that. But it's a pretty good flick. It's almost as good as Game Change. My all-time favorite is still The War Room. This was the behind-the-scenes documentary on the Clinton team in the '92 election. If you've never, I think it's on Netflix Instant. It is an interesting watch, if only to see how young George Stephanopoulos once looked. Oddly enough, James Carville looks the exact same today as he did back then. But it was a really interesting behind-the-scenes look at really the first modern-day sort of, with rapid response and the like campaign team. It was definitely a sea change. All right, what else is going on in the news? Yesterday I told you about Nate Silver, again, who's not by no means the only prognosticator of note out there. And I don't mean, pundit. I don't mean my gut instinct tells me, because that would be Joe Scarborough. I'm talking about the guy who analyzes data. But he's certainly become the most famous, at least the most well-known. There are plenty of others. And, again, he's getting in the way of, the story that Republicans would like to push. This is the momentum. This is we're expanding the map as a show of confidence. This is just basic human psychology. People will break towards a winner, especially men. If you are seen as, likely to triumph, you will gain more votes. Sports team, the bandwagon effect. Any sports fan is familiar with this. People will get on board and, again, convince themselves that they've always held this view. And they are obviously on the right side. So you want to create at least the illusion of momentum. Maybe the most hilarious example is when Karl Rove in 2006 said he had worked out the math. And it turns out the Republicans were going to do great. And the midterms were going to be a breeze. And remember, Republicans got their clocks cleaned. But it was a good try. Well, they're trying to do the same thing now, but again, the models get in the way of that. Same thing with just the media in general, who need a horse race. And there's nothing wrong with reporting horse race stories. I have no problem with this. But when you're trying to create a narrative, and that is this, it's toss-up, it's anyone's guess, it's coin flip, there's just no data to back that up. So you can tell this is somewhat getting to Nate Silver. So he offers a $1,000 bet to Joe Scarborough. Says, Romney wins, I'll donate $1,000 to the Red Cross. If Obama wins, you donate the $1,000. And again, the issue isn't the money, because Scarborough immediately came back with, why don't we just donate and be done with it? They said, okay, $2,000 bet. This drew the ire of the public editor of the New York Times, who purchased or leased 538 and brought him into their fold. So yesterday, the public editor gave Nate Silver a slap on the wrist. When he came to work at the Times, Mr. Silver gained a lot more visibility and the credibility associated with a prominent institution. But he lost something too. The right to act like a free agent with responsibilities to nobody's standards but his own. And again, that line caught my eye because I don't think it's as much. Because I remember Judith Miller. She was the editor of the Times. It was a nonstop cheerleader for the Iraq War. It's the New York Times buying Silver's credibility and the eyeballs associated and the page views associated with bringing him. That's why you brought his institution. You didn't buy his model and run it yourself. You brought him in. You want him as the poster boy. But again, the issue with Scarborough wasn't the bet. It was the fact, okay, Joe, you think it's a toss-up? Put your money on it. I'm offering, in your mind, I'm offering you a 50-50 bet. Shouldn't be a problem. It was fun to watch Scarborough through the day. Demure via social media. Again, these are the best elections. His piece today, the simple case for saying Obama is the favorite. The ghost of Frank Mink is hanging out over my shoulder. That's kind of creepy. But no, the argument, he's like the Emperor's ghost. Next to you, put Yoda and Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Sorry, I only have Frankie Mink's ghost.
Be like Endor all over again. And then we're going to replace Frankie with Hayden Christensen in the Blu-ray release. Anyway. I've told people, don't worry. Relax. Not because we have this in the bag, because most certainly we don't. And if you have, well, at this point, a few dollars is going to make a lot of difference. But if you got some time over the weekend, make a couple phone calls, maybe do some door knocking, that would be very valuable. At the very least, because I understand as an American, we're always looking for, it's the least I could do. Early voting is still going on today and this weekend, and if you just take your name off the rolls of people who need to be contacted on Election Day, it's literally the least you could do, but it will make a difference. Get out, vote. Don't forget to bring your special Acorn membership card. So you get your second ballot and third. And don't forget, by the way, to flip your ballot over. There's stuff on the back, including voting yes to retain Justice Wiggins. Because if there's anything we learned, if you beat Bob Vander Plaats, he will shrink away. Bob Vander Plaats is pulling down $120,000 a year as chief fundraiser for the Iowa Family Policy Center, a.k.a. the family leader. He was brought in when their supply of federal money was exposed to the public and they had to turn the rest of it down. He's still living off his one electoral victory, which was, again, kind of playing with a stacked deck, but getting Iowans to oust 3 Supreme Court justices in 10. Well, he's doing the same thing now. If Wiggins is removed, it's a lot like Groundhog Day. You're going to get 4 more years of Bob Vander Plaats, or 3 more. You've got a 3-year contract. So don't forget to flip over the ballot. Vote yes for Justice Wiggins. That is literally a vote to get rid of Bob Vander Plaats and render him an irrelevant being. I'm sure he will always find some sort of living now taking money from, bigoted old people. But as far as someone who garners TV time and influences elections, it's pretty much one and done. So those are a few of the things going on. Some interesting news on the Benghazi situation, let alone more information proving that the right-wing narrative is basically full of it. But before we take a break and bring on Frank Mink when we come back, just one more example that anything Republicans say they hate, they're upset about, they can't stand, is un-American, is something that Ronald Reagan did. Forget the insane conspiracy. Obama wanted our people killed over there. Yeah, the guy with his own kill list who, again, sends drones throughout the world to just knock off. How many hundreds of number 2 in Al-Qaeda's have we killed? The guy who risked his presidency on the Bin Laden raid, and yes, he would be toast if that had gone wrong. Ask Jimmy Carter. Somehow, that's just, if that's the argument you're throwing out, fine. Good for you. Good luck with that. One of the chief complaints among the know-nothings on the right is that the day after this event, the callous, anti-American, Kenyan anti-colonialist Barack Obama flew to Las Vegas. What kind of monster would campaign the day after an attack like that? Well, duh. Ronald Reagan. September 20th, 1984, a truck bomb exploded at the U.S. Embassy Annex in Lebanon, just outside Beirut. 24 people were killed. Third terrorist bombing aimed at U.S. interests in Lebanon in the last year and a half. So that happened September 20th. Does anyone know where Ronald Reagan was September 21st? He was actually here in Iowa, because he was only up 23 points in the polls at the time versus Walter Mondale. But he did 3 campaign stops here in Iowa the day after a truck bombing outside of Beirut. The Associated Press asked Reagan if he had considered canceling the campaign appearance. Reagan replied, "We talked about that, but realize that whether I'm there or here, you're president wherever you are. And as fast as communication is on these matters, wherever I am." At this point, again, just assume anything Republicans say they hate. Tax cuts, amnesty, weapons deals, is something Ronald Reagan did, which is why he'd be rhinoed out of the party. All right. 312. Still got beer in my head. 244-0077's phone number. Email address, radiobradshaw@gmail.com. And follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/radiobradshaw. When we return, the one, the only, the former neo-Nazi, Frank Mink, join me after this on The Bradshaw Show on Webcast One Live. Thanks for watching. Back right after this.
Max Real Estate Concept Studios. This is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
It's like they want to get hit.
Need a body shop?
Minor Wreck Express saves you time and J. Michael McCoy, and about 20 years ago, I went to a used car salesman by the name of John Hewitt. He had a little shop over there on North 2nd Avenue called John's Auto Sales, and I bought a car. I found that experience to be one that I had never had before from a used car salesman. He was honest, he was dependable, he had integrity, and he did what he said he was going to do. Well, over the years, between my kids and grandkids, I purchased 7 vehicles from John's Auto Sales. And last month, I asked him to be a sponsor. And he said not only would he like to be a sponsor, but he would offer a $100 tithe for every customer that came and bought a car from him directly to the church of your choice. I can tell you about their huge selection. I can tell you about their years of experience. I can tell you about their honest integrity. But all I really need to tell you is that I bought 7 cars, and you can trust them. John's Auto Sales, 5435 2nd Avenue, Des Moines.
You need a good ride when you hit the trail. Trust the man with the cars, and he goes by the name of Big John. Big John. Big John.
Ever feel like there's more to life? God offers more. Chat now with an online coach at groundwire.net.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
It's time to start.
Rock concert movement number 1. The basic
All right, 156. Bradshaw with you here on a... Yeah. All Fridays are good. But just kind of blah outside. Can we get some sunshine up in this piece, yo? Brian emails radiobradshaw@gmail.com. Yesterday on River to River on NPR, Dr. Stephen Schmidt from ISU stated he knew and had talked with a person who was in charge of the Des Moines Register. Said the only reason they endorsed Romney was that they were mad at the president for not giving them an official interview, and that's why they went with Romney. And again, if you want to go back, check out Monday's show. Did a rather detailed, kind of piece-by-piece takedown of the Register's endorsement of Romney. And I said there were a couple things possibly at work. One being the look at me factor. When they released their endorsement Saturday night, again, would anyone have talked about it even an hour later if they'd endorsed Obama? With the various struggles that print media is having, you could certainly see an argument from a business sense where, well, it would make the most news to endorse Romney. We certainly wouldn't be talking about it even today. And I believe this was John Deeth, who I believe is a Register blogger, said kind of backed up what Brian said the night of the endorsement, and that is editor types, publishers, take this sort of stuff seriously. It's a weird media feedback loop, and which is if a campaign, if an administration, everything from governor to president, doesn't like your coverage, Bush and his team, Karl Rove, did this. Again, I'm not endorsing it, but they were masters at, we didn't like your story on blah, blah, blah. You don't have a seat on the press plane anymore. They divvy out access. We'll give you the inside scoop. We're going to leak information. Again, when you say, a senior so-and-so official, most of those leaks are absolutely planned as a way to, float a trial balloon or disseminate a story before it breaks, and sometimes just to curry favor with publications and newsmakers. In the same way, politicians dole out access. Reporters, crave it, need it. It's the source for their exclusives and their scoops and their page views and their circulation and their ratings. So it's It's a weird feedback loop. So Romney was willing to sit down in a barn and talk, for an hour. The president had originally said the call was off the record, and then later, the next day, it said you can print the transcript. I have no doubt that they were in some way, shape, or form butthurt by the fact the president, didn't come on bended knee. You who buy ink by the barrel, how may I appease you? I'm sure to some degree that played a role. I don't know if it was the defining factor. It would make sense in the regard that, again, forget the headline, forget the actual endorsement. When you read the piece, it's so bad and demonstrably false. Piece by piece. Go watch the last half of Monday's show. Dixie emails. What are your thoughts on Reuters polls? How do they rank in credibility rankings? Do they have Obama and Romney tied with an inch ahead in some battleground states? P.S. Excited to hear Frank today. He'll be on in just a second. As far as Reuters go, as good as any other pollster. The national polls are very good at, again, it's horse race, it's tie, it's 1 point race, everything's within the margin of error, which is why it's not very newsworthy or holds any predictive powers. But you have our 50 state-by-state races that influence the Electoral College, which will actually elect the next president. And that's why you see the steady leads in Michigan, Wisconsin, Iowa, Colorado, New Mexico, Pennsylvania. That's where the advantage goes to the president. Ignore the nationwide numbers. We don't have just a straight popular vote. I've explained, in Gallup, where Obama has a 22-point deficit in the South. Shocker. And all of a sudden, our national polls show Romney with the lead. Okay, but what does that have to say about the Electoral College? Nothing. All right, my guest today, Frank Mink, former neo-Nazi. If you want to get on YouTube, you can find Neo-Nazi versus Little Girl, and it's Frank being owned by an 8-year-old on ABC. But I thought it was just a good introduction. Frank, welcome to the program.
Good. I don't even think she's 8. I think she might be 6.
There's like a 5-year-old that just owns you.
Yes.
At least you're honest about it. You can somewhat laugh about it. For those, the Cliff Notes version, you and I are about the same age. And about the time I was getting into, rap music, you were getting into the Klan.
Yep. About 14, 15.
Okay, maybe that was about the rap music revelation for me. It's Iowa. We're a little behind on the times, and I'm not counting Vanilla Ice, but
which was the best rapper ever?
No.
Biggie Smalls.
No, Chuck D. Are we gonna have to throw down over this?
No, because you're just gonna quit badmouthing. No. You're just gonna have to quit badmouthing Vanilla Ice.
Yes, Robbie Van Winkle.
Quit badmouthing.
Keeping it real. Don't make
I am
me
an angry tattooed white boy.
Yeah.
Do not piss me. I will come over this glass. I'm telling you.
Don't make me hang you over a balcony, Suge Knight style.
Listen.
Collaborate.
I would like to see you do that. Okay.
You wouldn't, because I don't have that much upper body strength. You're kind of a big dude. I would drop you.
Yeah, I don't think you could get me there.
But I could find someone. I'm sure Suge Knight needs the money these days.
Look,
is he still in prison?
You better check out my hook while my DJ revolves it.
Yeah. Okay. Why don't you take your 5.0?
Hey, I love the 5. I would love to have a convertible 5.0 to have the rag top down.
He's gonna come in with those little lines shaved in his eyebrows.
No, I can't
one of these
do that.
days. No, come on, your idol did it. It's got to be cool.
But just because he does something, I don't have to.
All right, Frank, just between you and me, what are the odds that Dan there has a stack of old Tiger Beats under his bed? Vanilla Ice, the hottest new star
going on over there.
1991 or whatever. Can you sing some ninja rap for us?
No ninja, go.
All right, so... Frank, you had some quality time with Bob Vanderplatz yesterday.
Yes, I did.
On
Good.
purpose.
Well, I made this video, which was me, a guy, and a video camera, and we did have someone from Progress, Iowa there.
All right, but tell us about this PSA you made.
So the PSA is that I've been watching Bob now since I've lived here in Iowa 10 years, but he came on my radar maybe about a year ago. So I started watching some things, watching a lot of his speeches, and just started seeing a lot of his things that he was saying kind of kept sounding like the old movement I belong to.
All right, now that's going to require a little explanation because I've watched Bob Vanderplatz for a long time, and I've never seen him with a white hood, or I haven't seen him do any sort of, Sig Heil or anything like that. I mean, in spite of his message, if you just muted him and just kind of watched him on TV, seems like a very nice and personable fellow and doesn't get angry and upset. And I've done my best to try to anger and upset him. And he's very, genial at all times. So where do you see, the correlation and the connection to a hate movement?
It's the way that he has said some things where he says, it's not, what I'm about to say is not hate. It's going to get taken as hate, but it's about love. It's about truth of the Bible. It's about our heritage. And when I hear that stuff, that's what we were basically trained to say in the public eye when we would go to Bible studies for the Aryan nations, for Christian identity, Christian Posse Comitatus, some of these bigger groups. When we go to Bible studies, we were kind of told, like, don't go out there and say the N-word. Don't go out there and scream, I hate, blah, blah, blah. When people say to you, why do you hate? You say, I don't hate. I just love my heritage, and I love God's law. And the white man is almost an extinct human being on this planet. And, we had this whole rigmarole. But when he says those things, that's what started to catch my ear. And then I started to hear more further into his message. And even like yesterday, he keeps saying he wants to have true dialogue with everybody. And let's have a real debate here. We can't have he won't say the truth that he has a bug up his butt about gays, and I don't mean that in any other way, but he hates gays. He hates gays. He hates them biblically. Let
me offer an alternative hypothesis real quick.
Go ahead.
He sees gays and the fact that homosexuals are kind of the one group it's still okay to, around the water cooler dislike. Again, feel free to try this experiment in your workplace of choice. Go up and start dropping N-bombs.
Right.
And see how, again, the folks around the water cooler react.
What water cooler do you hang out at?
But you call someone a fag and, you get that. So
you guys must hang out at the worst water coolers ever, because I don't know anywhere where you can go talk derogatorily of a homosexual and not be shunned. I'm trying to find this. Where are these imaginary water coolers?
There's probably one at the Iowa Family Leader.
Well, that may be. I'm not defending Bob Vanderplatz.
I'm guessing in the Vanderplatz office.
I'm not defending Bob.
I don't know if they're a Culligan family, but you might be able to go to the house and pull it off, because we know for a fact that Bob likes anti-gay jokes.
Hey, look, I'm not defending Bob Vanderplatz. I don't care. I tend probably to agree with you guys. But the reality is that Bob is trying, his organizations like his are more likely trying to make that possible rather than make it accepted. You go down to Wells Fargo around their water cooler and start talking bad about homosexuals, and I think you'll be fired.
It's not. Wait. I mean, it's not the talking bad about. It's the one of those things, and where someone says, "Oh, did you see Johnny today? His wife made him wear that pink shirt. What a fag!" Like that's the type of.
That's the soft bait. I'm not talking about.
I don't even think that's acceptable anymore.
Oh, maybe.
I think in polite company, that's still.
I mean, I think you get a bunch of white kids on Xbox, and the N-word's still acceptable, But I mean, in reality, in the real world, nobody uses that.
Oh, are you kidding me? There are people who use it as a period. They use it as punctuation.
Or just gay. That's so gay. I mean,
yeah.
And I mean,
that's Bristol Palin.
Well, that's stupid.
I agree, but I mean, the point is that there's that soft bigotry. I'm not talking about, bringing Fred Phelps signs and hanging in your cubicle.
Well, that would be more honest, I think.
But well, at the end of the day, Fred Phelps is a more honest version, because I have yet to hear a difference between the message of Bob Vanderplatz and what Fred Phelps does. You just say what Fred Phelps does, but with nicer language and with a smile on your face. But anyway, back to my alternative hypothesis. He's using this kind of soft bigotry as a fundraising tool.
Yes.
I mean, for me, having seen, Bob Vanderplatz before, he came to Jesus as a public figure and was running as the CEO candidate and the turnaround candidate. He was running as a business guy and losing. And now, magically, he finds his one piece of electoral success, and he turned it into, well, a very lucrative career, 120 grand a year from the family leader to be their chief fundraiser. And frankly, what else is he going to fundraise on?
No, and I mean, look at what he's doing with the funds. Okay, what they said about the video yesterday was that I was being a bully. I was bullying him by making this video and calling him a name by calling him a hate monger. And all I can think of is he has these red buses with a guy's name on the side next to him saying no, and going around city to city in Iowa, like bullying this guy. So I said that. I said, that's where I see bullying, me calling what I see as a hate group and the Southern Poverty Law Center see as a hate group, and other very educated, well-intended human beings that I talk to on a regular basis who are not so left or so right still say, yeah, I mean, that as soon as Bob comes up or the family leader, they're a hate group, or we talk, people are open about it. He's the only one that doesn't see it that way, him and some of his some of his people in those groups. So, well,
it would be a bad marketing tool, but that's the reason I talk to you about these things is you, hi honey, you, I mean, I assume can smell a hate group when you see it. You lived it. You were so devoted. I mean, you went to prison over it.
Prison, violence. I mean, my life revolved around that movement.
If you haven't read his book, Autobiography of a Recovering Skinhead, yet, it is a disturbing read, but it's a book you can't put down. You can very easily devour it in one sitting. Just you want to know what that life is like? It's, well, I wouldn't say the good, but the bad, the ugly, and the uglier are all in there. And just because this helps, right? Buy the soft cover version, not for your ebook reader, because he gets more money that way.
No, see, I don't want to make it about money, because that's.
And you can afford a better nanny, so you can actually come in here today.
Needs a day off.
No, she doesn't.
But I just want to get back. I mean, there was. What had happened, Jan Michelson and another radio guy had said he had offered me to come on and debate with Bob about this commercial, this PSA that I had done. And I turned Jan down. I said, no, thank you, respectfully. And he said, no, why don't you come on? I still want to talk to you about this. And I said no again. Well, I didn't know that 2 days later they were going to play my commercial word for word, line for line, and debate it. Him and Bob's in studio. So people were calling me, texting me. A couple of my born-again friends were texting me, like, hey, they're talking about you on Jan Michelson right now. So I listened to the show, and I listened to it, and they start to go over everything line by line. And there's one part in there where I say, if they win this battle, next they come after our school board, science, sex education, and women's rights. And so I'm waiting and at first Bob was like, oh, God, like it was almost ridiculous that I would say this. And then he goes on to back me up. That is their plan. He's saying, oh, yeah, what people are going to not like me. They're going to come after me because I'm going to try and get people on the school board who are going to teach abstinence. They're going to be mad that I don't want to teach their Darwinism. And I'm like, so exactly what I said.
That's exactly what you were saying, yeah.
Exactly. And I went on there and I decided to call up and have it out a little bit, and it was very respectful. Bob was very respectful to me. They gave me 5 minutes to talk, 3 to 5 minutes to talk on because now they just kind of destroyed me in the commercial for the last half hour. So, and it went really well. I mean, I said some good things. I probably regret saying some. I wish I would have been more educated on other things. But I know in the long run that I got Bob a couple times. He started preaching the law to me and the Constitution. And I said, Bob, that's not what I was about. That's not my commercial. My commercial is that I see hate. So you can come at me with that. And I said, here's the other thing. I've talked to many friends of mine in this town that are lawyers, Republican and Democrat, and they all say the same thing, that these judges didn't go above and beyond what they were supposed to do. They did exactly what they were supposed to do.
No, I know. I made the mistake of watching local news just because the commercials are unwatchable. But it was on while I was having dinner last night, and they did. I think it was KCCI had a nice piece on the retention vote, talking to the Iowa Bar Association, whoever their person is, saying that like this ad that Vanderplatz and his friends are running, saying that he's the worst rated judge. Like that's simply not true, and that's a misleading use of what we put out. Now, I would argue that's bearing false witness, but I guess as a non-believer, who am I to hold the Vanderplatzes of the world up to their own set of rules? But I guess that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I mean that is the message that Vanderplatz preaches. Whether he holds it in his heart of hearts, I have no idea. Yeah. But I do know it has been very lucrative for him. And yes, once he's out of Supreme Court justices to fundraise off of, I have no doubt that the school boards are next. There's always, I mean, you look at groups like the Discovery Institute, who are always looking for a school board to infiltrate. It starts with, evolution talk, and we saw what happened in Dover.
Exactly.
That case goes to court. The Dover School Board loses. The judge, who was a Bush appointee, and go read, if you get a chance, his decision, basically eviscerating this group for lying. So the Dover School Board is set there, with $1 million judgment and legal fees and the like. And magically, the Discovery Institute is gone. The fundings are elsewhere, leaving the people of Dover to pick up, after their mess. I have no doubt that the same thing will happen here as they attempt to infiltrate every level of local government they can. Remember when Jonathan Narcissus ran his slate of school board members? I had a chance to talk to him, and I asked him very straight up, will you support the teaching of creationism in our public schools? And they wouldn't answer.
Right.
They wouldn't give an answer one way or another. One, because they know how the general public reacts to it.
And how scientists react to it.
Well, that one's pretty blatant. But they wouldn't say yes and they wouldn't say no. But again, Narcissus is Narcissus, and I don't want to get a 10-page angry email over talking to him, or talking about him. But when the folks over at We Hate Others, when the folks like Dace got fully on board, there was only one reason. So I have no doubt that we'll see a return to that movement, which is why it's so important. Again, if we retain Wiggins, Vanderplatz loses his leverage.
Yeah.
And, it's up. Then it's between him and, the old ladies writing him checks out of misguided whatever.
Yeah.
And the rest of us don't have to deal with him.
And even today, okay, here's a good example. Bob says that his group doesn't attract hate, because that was how I ended my statement last night. I said, Bob, you could say whatever you want. I look at your group, and you might not say you're a hate group, but you sure do attract a lot of members of people that seem to be in hate groups. Just today on the website for the radio show that we were on, one of the comments is a guy says, because Bob was also referring that was secretly being controlled by George Soros. Don't know where that came from.
A right-wing conspiracy theory? I'm shocked.
Right. One of the comments of today's thing underneath the show from yesterday, the written out show, the script of the show, says George Jewish, like it's just that blatant hatred, and it comes out, and they can't help it.
Yeah.
And then the guy goes on to love, he says George Jewish sorrows, and it's so just like anti-Semitic and ignorant, and the whole rest of the emails about supporting Bob Vanderplat. So I'll even go out on, maybe Bob doesn't truly hate like a lot of his members do, but he's definitely promoting it, fanning the hate. It's on today. Just what I said he has in his following was on the website today, and it's going to continue. We talked about this on your show before. I brought it up to Bob's attention. It was after they gave me my first 5-minute opening statement. I said, Bob, there was a joke that was told to you that was caught on camera. Now, I'm not saying that you had any parts of that joke being said by that said person. But here's the key. If I know that people in my life come to me anytime they hear to them a good racist joke, and they think right away, wait until I tell Frank. I have to start realizing, what am I putting out in this world that makes people think Frank's going to like this joke? He's got to think, what is he putting out that people think, man, I can't wait to tell Bob Vanderplatz that joke. He's going to love this one. And if for those you don't remember, I'll say the joke because he said,
I remember the video. I don't remember the specific
the joke goes, the guy said, Bob, I got to tell you this one. My wife said it was so funny. This is Iowa because it just happened after the smoking ban. He goes, just like in Iowa, you can't smoke a fag, but you can marry one.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Oh, that's a good one. And he looked at the camera like, oh, crap. I mean, look at it, And that's what I mean. It's promoting that hate. So, I called Bob on that. I agreed to have coffee with him at some time. I would love to. I believe that...
At the Garden?
Anywhere. I don't care. I would do it at the Garden. Saddle, you name it. I believe that Bob is going to be, and I think Danny might jump in here, I think that Bob's going to be like Paul on the road. I believe that God is eventually going to come to him one day and be like, all right, enough persecution, knock it off, dude. And I think, and this is what I think is going to happen, is that he's going to get not just compassion and sympathy for a gay person or gay friends, or he's going to have empathy. He's going to run into these certain people who are going through the same situations that he can relate to. And I believe his life will change. I hope so. This world is about compassion, and he doesn't get that right now. He doesn't, and his group doesn't get it.
In the words of the great American P. Diddy,
let's hear it.
It's all about the Benjamins.
For him, it is right now.
Bob Vanderplatz, as he has portrayed himself through the years, cannot win a statewide election in Iowa. It's not going to happen. I don't know how many times he needs to lose to have this proven to him. But he can make a very good living as, well, a ringleader. I mean, he was brought in as a fundraiser. For those of you who don't know the story, the Iowa Family Policy Center, that's Chuck Hurley and Friends, had gotten a government grant to promote marriage. So they decided to make their own little marriage counseling service. This money technically was supposed to be distributed by Chuck Hurley and Friends to other groups. They just created their own group and kind of kept the money in-house. And it all went to Marriage Matters, which was just a trademark owned by the Family Policy Center. Well, the day after speaking at a Tax Day Tea Party rally, the story broke that most of their funding was coming from the federal government. Lo and behold, that was almost the extent of the money being brought in to the family leader. Well, after that story breaks, they decide to turn down the last installment of the federal money. How magnanimous. It's amazing how people act when there's actually attention on their actions. And it was shortly after that they hired Bob Vanderplatz. They signed him to a 3-year, $120,000 a year contract to be the new head of this, renamed organization. And his job is to fundraise, and he's very good at it. You ask about motivations, follow the money.
Yeah.
In this case, I think it's pretty straightforward.
Well, what I'm hoping, and kind of almost like my story, is that he's going to eventually wake up 10, 15 years from now. He's not going to be invited places anymore, because anytime he goes somewhere, his supporters come and he's there, and people just, any type of charity event, it's all going to stop happening besides only that little bubble of people that he can go to. And eventually he's going to start saying, this isn't what I expected.
That bubble shrinks as it becomes less acceptable to call someone a British cigarette.
Right. And I think that maybe it's the money part financially where he starts saying, all right, I'm not pulling in the dough. I was. I've already, the school board thing hasn't happened, and what it might be. I just have a feeling that Bob might be one of them great stories in the end of the, end of times where the guy was a persecutor and he's going to stop.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Sorry.
You're more hopeful than I am.
I had a swastika on my neck. I had a swastika on my neck.
Yeah. I got a few minutes left, and frankly, Bob Vanderplatz bores me. I showed you this graph yesterday, and can bring the rise in militia groups and patriot groups since 2009, and magically the number of these groups have shot through the roof. Is it not going to work? All right, I showed you the lists.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And it's just a huge uptake starting in 2009. And what happened in 2009 to cause racist hillbillies to lose their minds? Oh yeah,
let me see.
Forgot about that.
Count Blackula got in.
The funny thing is, and this is from the Southern Poverty Law Center. As they see a rise in these patriot and militia groups, they've seen a 42% drop in nativist extremist groups. These aren't political anti-immigration organizations. They don't. They count groups that go beyond normal political activism to harass individuals they suspect of being undocumented immigrants. That number shrank 42% as every other group shot through the roof. What the hell is that about?
Well, I think, for one, there was not a lot of, Obama did a good job with the protecting the border, as some thought he wouldn't. And the thing is that the Tea Party, and the Tea Party's not even part of that group that we looked at yesterday, right?
No, and they're not talking about political groups. These are like, your Michigan militias. This is remember Ruby Ridge, remember Waco.
Waco. I mean, some of the thing is it because it's becoming more back to religious rhetoric. And so that's where I kind of see that change happening, where before a lot of those groups were more just political based, but when it came to other groups that were around, there was always the religious ones, and they were kind of always the smaller groups. And I've seen over the years now that they've become somewhat the bigger groups.
Well, now, again, you were involved in this, and if you read your book, it was the Oklahoma City bombing that really opened your eyes to this. But this is what happens the last time we saw a huge surge in these militia groups after Waco and after Ruby Ridge. And it really peaked shortly after the Oklahoma City bombing, which was, again, anti-government domestic terrorism. Do you think, it only it took like 3 guys to pull that one off? Do you think that's coming?
I do. I really do.
I know Department of Homeland Security put out a report of the rise of right-wing extremism. By the way, they also put out a report on left-wing extremism, but Sean Hannity and friends didn't freak out about that one.
No.
And we saw, the Michelle Bachmans, I'm a right-wing extremist, mocking this report, but it said, yes, disgruntled veterans are being recruited. In some cases, active military are being recruited, and then are also recruiting within the ranks, but with a hurting economy. And, this is something, again, a phenomenon that is as old as time. People
it's as old
who
as time, but I got to
have
put this out there. This is my biggest fear now, though, is they've never had a Fox News behind them. The white supremacist movement didn't have something as big as Fox News. Or
well, hold on, because how does Fox News enter the? I've never seen David Duke celebrated on Fox News.
No, but a lot of the extremist views, when I do a lot of some research on social medias, stuff like that, a lot of things that the racist movement is Fox News. Now I can't convict them of, because these groups like them, but what you're going to start getting is the Sean Hannitys of the world, and the next to come Sean Hannitys, that are going to back up these groups once they start saying, you know what, we're going to take this mountain or this hill in Michigan and we're going to make it a no federal zone. We don't want no federal government here because we don't believe in that government anymore.
The sovereign citizens movement.
You're right. And I think that the Fox News people are going to start backing those groups up. And maybe not at first. They might say, not do it. But they're going to have little editorial pieces where we feel why, we understand why they're doing this, though.
See, to me, it's more of a, what was the joke on The Simpsons? Not all Fox News fans are racist, but all racists are Fox News fans.
Right.
The way I come at it is, again, with just a constant, and again, literally nothing the president can do is right, is okay, and it's a conspiracy against great Americans. Even Chuck Grassley on Monday, and I'm still waiting for an apology, tweeted, how it was, the Labor Department isn't going to release the unemployment numbers by, on time on Friday. Why release something bad for Obama before the election? And again, that's not exactly, hardcore tinfoil hat. But even someone as respected, wrongly I believe, as Chuck Grassley, throws out these conspiracies left and right. And by the way, the numbers did come out today.
Right.
And I'm still waiting. This is why I'm waiting for a Grassley apology. But when the unemployment rate dropped to 7.8%, Jack Welch was on every network that would have him saying that, we were cooking the books, and this became mainstream Republican thinking. So, I don't think Fox News needs to go, full McVeigh. But they certainly provide cover. Because if Obama is going to, screw over the Tea Party, and he's going to steal the election with Acorn, he's going to, manipulate the job numbers, well, doesn't that then green light every conspiracy theory out there? So Fox doesn't need to go full McVeigh. They have other people, they just need to provide the intellectual framework for it's a conspiracy. And you go loose from there.
And that is, and I've talked to you about this before, and I think you might think it's a little extreme, but, Rwanda, it had hate radio back in the day, back when they were in their revolution and civil war where they were hacking each other to death. You had one kind of extremist radio station that was constantly beating that drum. It eventually got more and more violent. But before then, we have to look at how that hate radio started. It started just being kind of political. Hey, look at them guys over there. Look what they're doing. Why do they get that stuff and we don't get that stuff? It seems like everything's in their favor. And I fear if this election is close, I feel it's really going to start something. I really believe that they're going to believe. They already
even if it's not close. 2008 wasn't close, and they believe that Acorn stole it. The one thing I would throw out, and I'm out of time here because Dan has literally turned on all the lights to warn me, is that again, listen to the ads. The audience for Fox News is mostly over the age of 70. On talk radio, how many male enhancement ads per hour are you gonna hear? It is literally, and I use this in every sense of the word, an impotent white male audience.
With guns.
They bark a lot. They don't do a whole heck of a lot. Now, that's not to say that the occasional, guy who wants to go shoot up the Tides Foundation, because Glenn Beck says they're an enemy of the people, is going to happen, or a Holocaust, museum shooter. Again, what I'm afraid of is it only takes 3 or 4 guys getting together with some fertilizer and a rider truck, and you can kill hundreds.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm afraid, again, this current kind of fever dream right wing we have spawns.
Right.
Not because all Republicans are insane conspiracy theorists. They just provide cover and fuel for the fire. All right, I got to scoot, but I appreciate you taking some time. You're leaving town again. So when you're back in town, it'll be after the election. I'll be far more relaxed.
Yes.
You'll have to replace your nanny. Mitt Romney will be looking for a job. And come on down. We'll shoot the breeze a little more.
Vote yes on Wiggins. Vote yes on all the judges.
All right. Frank Mink, author, Autobiography of a Recovering Skinhead, available at fine booksellers everywhere, and even some less reputable ones. Thanks for coming on. Email me, radiobradshaw@gmail.com. Go to thebradshawshow.com. Follow me on Twitter, all that stuff. We got this is the last weekend of the election. And next week we party. All right, keep in touch. We'll see you back here on Monday on The Bradshaw Show on Webcast One Live. Thanks for watching.